a bit not came out ideal. I'll have to do. Cool. Sorry, boys.
Sorry,
For those that are live, I'm just fixing the Zoom thing at the moment. So hi everyone, we'll be with you in a second. I'm just fiddling this to make it all nice and tidy, so we'll fit in our wee boxes.
If you need any help with Streamlabs, Gav, just let me know, mate. I'm quite the expert now.
Pro after. There we go. That looks good, me. Okay.
Okay, brilliant teacher.
Okay. Hello, you're listening to Hibs Talk. I'm your host, as I say always, but not always, Gav. Joining me today is Stuart.
Hi, Gav.
And Ali. Guys, how you getting
on? Not too bad.
Yeah, doing really well, mate. Absolutely gutted I didn't get the job full time. Obviously, I was pleased to step in, help the club where I could. But you're always going to lose out to someone with a bit more experience, I'll say.
So for those that listen to the podcast post Aberdeen will know I wasn't on, I was working. Stuart stepped in for hosting duty. Stuart, how do you feel it went?
I thought it was excellent. I thought it was one of the best pods that's ever happened, ever. not just Hibs Talk. No, it was great. And I'll tell you, I genuinely take my hat off to you. Keeping an eye on doing the Streamlabs side of things, how we do all the broadcasting to Twitch, onto Facebook and things like that. I'll have to take my hat off to you while keeping an eye on the chat and moderating. There's a lot more hard work goes into this than you probably get credit for.
I'm a very talented man, is what you're saying. Very, very talented.
It is, yeah. Never let it be said.
I listened to the podcast. It was fun being able to listen to the podcast on my way to work, on my commute, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it flowed brilliantly. I thought the other guys on it were great as well. So yeah, cracking podcast. Obviously helped with the fantastic result up at Pataudry. But yeah, really enjoyed it. So thanks again for stepping in. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I think Jack Ross deserves a bit of credit for it. Yeah, just a wee bit. Thanks. Cheers, Jack.
Ali, how are you getting on?
Not too bad, Gav. Had a pretty relaxing Sunday, but I just glad to be back on the pod because it's been a while since I was last on it. So.
Yeah, I know. I think you were the last time you were on was in person because I remember I dropped you off at the train station. So it was pre-COVID anyway.
Good few years ago now, but.
Jeez, crazy. I know. That's so great to have you back on. I mean, you must be in a good mood today after the Palace result earlier on.
Absolutely delighted. Obviously, great result for Hibs yesterday, keeping the clean sheet and everything. And then today, Palace, coming from behind twice, get the victory. Can't ask for much more than that. And my brother's a Villa fan, so it's one up on him. So that's pretty good also.
Cracking goal for John McGinn as well. I have to say, I really enjoyed the game. A really entertaining game. But yeah, cracking goal for McGinn and enjoyable game. But yeah, pleased for you to get a good result. I have to say I had a nice Sunday as well. I was chilling out watching the football, and then I got a message from a mate saying him and his wee one 2-year-old were at the park nearby, and if I wanted to go by, so I went and seen them playing a bit with her, jumping a bit like an idiot. And he's a big Livingston fan, so I decided to teach her "Hi bees, hi bees, hi bees," which she started chanting. So I'm in the bad books, but. Yeah, she likes the song, so maybe we can convert her from a Livingston fan.
That's just good care in the community, though, mate. You're paying for you're saving her from her family. No, that's perfect. Yeah.
So obviously we've got not much in terms of the Celtic game to talk about. That'll be a bit quicker. A couple of talking points off the back of it and from before it and things, but we'll have a chat about the Celtic game. We're going to have a chat about the centre back dilemma, looking at the cup final. We'll look more into the cup final later in the week with the podcast later in the week. And we're going to have a chat, obviously, about Ophir Marciano. Rocky played probably his last game, barring some freak injury to Macy in training. It's probably going to be Rocky's last game yesterday, so we'll have a chat about Rocky and our favourite Rocky moments as well. Get your favourite Rocky moments in the chat, and any questions as well, we'll come to them as well. But anyway, let's get started with the Celtic game. Stuart, your thoughts when you've seen the team lineup?
Yeah, probably a little bit of frustration from myself. We all know, job done on Wednesday night. Let's get the 11, because Jack Ross will know his starting 11, barring, as you said, any injuries, touch wood, anything like that. He will probably know what's going to happen. So I was surprised there wasn't maybe as many changes as I thought there was going to be. I'd be wanting to put these guys up in Cotton Wool. There was a lot of call and chat for trying to get a few of the younger boys in and things like that. And that just didn't happen. However, we still made quite a lot of changes. And I was pleased to see, probably the first time this season, we've actually do have a little bit of depth and strength in this squad as well. There's maybe areas that are lacking, but there were still quite a few changes, but a few more first teamers in there that I'd maybe like to have seen.
Yeah, Ali, I mean, I think we were maybe a bit unrealistic, but we were kind of hoping maybe Josh O'Connor get a run out, Laidlaw, Stephen Bradley, but unfortunately I think he would have been, but apparently he's got a slight injury, so he might be, he was unavailable. But would you have liked to seen a couple of youngsters involved?
Oh yeah, definitely. It was a great opportunity to bring them in. I know Jack Ross has spoken about having them involved in the first team squad and, having them there on match days on the bench and things like that. But yesterday was definitely, the best opportunity we probably would have had to actually give them a chance to, run out and challenge himself. And, Celtic put out a really strong team, so they would have been up against top quality players as well. So it was a bit disappointing not to see them at least on the bench so that they could have got on and got a bit of a run out late on in the game.
I must say, you've touched on it there, Ali. I was very surprised at the strength of the Celtic lineup. They wanted one last hurrah. Let's be fair, a few of them are not going to be at Celtic next season. There is practically zero chance that John Kennedy is going to be the manager there as well. So I think they were wanting to kind of go out there. I wouldn't have wanted us to put 3 or 4 youngsters in there and have a real baptism of fire. That could have been quite damaging to their psyche for trying to then feed them in next season with European football on the horizon. We might be calling upon these boys when we're coming back for a Sunday game or things like that as well. You don't want somebody thinking, I'm absolutely shattered because McGregor or Brown or things like that made me look like I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah, that's true. There is always risk, and I think it was probably, it's kind of that argument was the Friday. A lot of them played on the Friday night game. I think it was actually Celtic as well, but an under 20s game or whatever it was. But the thing was, I mean, a lot of people were saying about but the COVID bubbles and things like that. I mean, Laidlaw's been in the squad before, and also Celtic pulled players from that Friday night game, including their goalkeeper, who was the sub goalkeeper on the bench, and a few other players. They had a few young laddies on the bench that I think even one of them came on. Even just sort of minutes from the bench, I think would have been interesting. But it's that thing: is a full 90 more benefit in a development team more beneficial for them than a run out against Celtic when Celtic are only playing for anything in front of no fans? Maybe not. Maybe if it was a normal game, yeah, maybe, or a normal final game of the season. But the fact there's no fans as well, maybe the argument for that. But yeah, I mean,
I do think it's worth pointing out that the Hibs youngsters beat Celtic 4-0 on the previous day as well. So it's a shame that a few of them might not have been able to come on because they'd have had their gander really up. They'd have wanted to say, right, I've done it for the under 21s. Let me go out and show you what I can do against the first team as well.
Yeah. Ali, when you seen the team lineup, who did you expect to be playing up front?
I thought we were going with Craig Levein 4-6-0 when I first saw the lineup, just because looking at that team, there was no natural striker. In that, Dre Wright was probably the only one that I could have pictured being used as that sort of focal point up front. But I don't think I expected to see Wright supported by Hallberg in the striking department yesterday. Jack Ross, he must see something in training that we don't that made him go with it, but I'm not entirely sure what that was.
Yeah, we really chucked Dre right in at the deep end. He's not had the season he would have wanted, so definitely not the season we would have wanted to see from him as well. But I thought he did blooming well yesterday. I've got to be honest. He came on, he stuck to his task well, got some great runs, seemed to be tracking back as well for it. And I think Hallberg kind of showed us how difficult it can be to stay on side sometimes as well. As well, I'm never gonna slag Martin Boyle for being constantly offside ever again. It's clearly a lot tougher than I thought it was.
I mean, I was really surprised. Unfortunately, with the press pass able to beat the game, sort of see it in person. I was like, wait a minute, and kind of see the sort of way the team set up, and see the formation. I'm like, that's a 4-4-2, and Hallberg's up top. And I thought maybe it's just like to start the game, and he's going to go deeper into the midfield or whatever, and it's 4-5-1. But no, he stayed up there. And fair play to him. I mean, I thought he'd done a decent shift and was effective up there. Maybe not in terms of an attacking sense, I mean, I don't think we'd a shot on target the whole game, but in terms of doing a job and sort of the roles he was given, I thought he'd done a very impressive job. And just to say, Hallberg has also played at right back this season. So he's played at right back, defensive midfield, centre midfield. I think he's played at left midfield as well, and he's also played as a striker. So
he's the new Slivka.
That's it.
But I mean, we said about a big squad rotation, Stuart. Does this kind of show that, as much as the four three players we've kind of got 46 goals between the three of them, we're struggling in terms of depth up top if something was to happen? Obviously, we've only got one game left, but in terms of next season, we're going to need more numbers up top.
Yeah, I've been jumping up and down for the last probably 3 transfer windows about why we're not getting another striker, and even letting ones go out on loan or selling ones, things like that. Why we're not getting another more proven striker in. But do we also have to remember that we're Hibs and we've had 3 strikers contributing 40 plus goals this season? Something's clearly working there. So what do I know? Jack Ross has always said he's wanting to keep a squad a lot more tighter knit. They get to know each other. There's a lot more team spirit and things like that. Third in the League Cup final kind of proves that's working for us. Sometimes just bringing somebody in for the sake of it in a window can really upset the apple cart. And is that a balance that he was trying to make sure that he was keeping throughout the season?
I think with Murphy as well, because he can potentially be played up top also, and obviously we've signed Mackay now as well, so he could maybe slot into the left. Murphy can fill maybe one of the striker voids, assuming he can stay fit long enough to, get a good run in the team. So, and then obviously we've got the younger laddies, O'Connor, Laidlaw, like they can also potentially step in and fill one of those spaces. Gullen will be coming back potentially as well. So, we have got other players in and around the squad. It's just whether or not they're able to step in and, do the same role that the three guys that have scored all the goals this season have done.
Yeah. I 100% agree. I think there's maybe that flexibility players that can also play there. We've seen Boyle at times as well, so that's maybe something. But I think maybe one more in terms of numbers. But we'll see what happens in the summer. I mean, I'd like to think that there is potentially more players come in, because it gives us more podcast content. One, to talk about new players, and 2, speculate about players coming in. If it's going to be a very quiet window, I'm going to struggle for content over the summer. So let's hope for a busy window.
Come on, Graham. Yeah. Come on, Graham. You're listening to this. We know you listen. Get some players signed. We need something to talk about.
Even just
don't care about the wage structure. Just get players in.
Put out false rumours so I can have a bit of fun and speculate and get somebody like a Millwall fan. What should we know about this player? It gives us something. But yeah, I mean, looking through the game, McGregor had probably one of the best chances for Hibs, a corner earlier on. Great corner from Hallberg. Great. He had a few decent deliveries. McGregor headed over the bar. We could have come back to talk about McGregor in a bit more. Rocky had a couple of good saves. And 27th minute from El Nussi. Kind of a bit too much space for El Nussi. Got through. Rocky, fantastic. Got down low, tipped it around the post for a corner. Another one a wee bit later, again from El Nussi. Rocky played like it wasn't just a token clean sheet. I feel like he really earned it, Stuart.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we're going to talk on Rocky later, but it shows what Macy does have some really big gloves to fill. Some great saves. I think the second El Nussi chance, he maybe showed Rocky a bit much, but Rocky was still there. He was still making himself big, pushing him almost to the side to kind of make sure he was cutting down that angle. To me, that's it. He is a very intelligent keeper. We've seen him do it for Israel internationally as well, because Scotland play Israel every other week, apparently. And it's good that we'll get to keep seeing Rocky in that way wherever he ends up. But yeah, it was just great first half for him. We easily could have been 3-0 down with a lesser keeper between the sticks.
Yeah, aye. Rocky did really well. Celtic dominated possession both halves, really. I think the first half, the Hibs had 26% possession. I don't know what it finished on full time. But yeah, dominated possession. Ali, I mean, credit's got to go to Hibs for, even though Celtic had a lot of the ball, and Rocky did pull off a couple of decent saves, limiting Celtic to hardly any chances. Credit's got to go to Hibs for that.
Yeah, I think that's, it's Jack Ross. We've, apart from maybe a few games this season around Christmas time when we seem to ship in handfuls of goals, we've usually been quite hard to break down. And you saw that especially at the start of the season when we went on that run where we didn't concede a goal, or we didn't concede a goal from open play. Teams found it hard to actually get through us and score. So he's, even though we swapped the defence around quite a lot, the fact that it's obviously something that the squad as a whole know exactly what their role is, how to defend, how to try and contain teams and limit their chances. It's something that we've got throughout, which is really great to see.
Yeah.
Well, there was only 3 teams in the top flight that have managed to finish on a plus goal difference. Us, Rangers, Celtic. Okay, Aberdeen were very close to it. They were just -2 after their 4-0 defeat yesterday. But it still shows we're doing something right. Yeah, a couple of little bumpy patches in the middle where we're conceding silly goals. But in general, we've had a very stingy defence and been quite fruitful up front. That's not a bad way to look back on a season.
Yeah, aye. I think there's been massive improvements in the defence as it's went on. We're going to talk about the options in a minute in terms of defence and obviously the standout performer from this game. But I think the defence has improved as the seasons went on. There's been a lot more sort of unity, and even when Porteous went out, and I know we're going to talk about it again in a minute, but McGregor came in, the defence continued that sort of solidarity, and it's been really impressive. As well as that, like with all the Boyle, Nisbet, and Dodge will get the headlines because they're 46 goals, but both keepers and the defence really deserve a big round of applause for the success this season as well.
Massively so.
So yeah, I mean, there was a couple of other things here. Not much, like say, a pretty boring game if we're honest. Wright done. I thought he done really well. Got into the box. The defender, I think, knew Wright had got away, threw himself down, and the referee gave the free kick. I've not seen the replays to see if I'm wrong in that. I don't know if it was on the highlights or not, but I'm sure you saw the game on Hibs TV. Am I right in saying that the defender just knew he'd lost it and threw himself down?
Yeah, very much so. Shocking decision by Willie Collum there. Doesn't matter if there's fans in the stadium or not. Celtic or Rangers will always get a decision. Good for them. Good to know that some things don't change in a COVID world. But no, credit to that. A little late to have seen that move completed, see what he would have done. But yeah, it was one of the few chances we managed to get, and he deserved a bit of credit there, and didn't deserve the ending it got.
Yeah, I mean, the second half, I think Hallberg had the best chance for Hibs. Although, and saying that, best chance, it went out for a throw-in. And 54th minute, I've got another save for Rocky, where it was sort of like a Superman thing, or like Ryan Kent, if you've seen Man of Steel, where he just puts out his hand and he just stopped it. I thought it was a tremendous save. But yeah, and then like say the subs, quite surprised to see Irvin and Doige come on. And no play as many minutes as did Ali. Were you surprised to see them sort of Doige come on and not be wrapped up in Will completely?
A little bit, yeah. But I think the thing is that with players like Doige, he's on such a great run at the moment. Jack Ross probably thought he wants to keep that momentum going. I know we've played a lot of games recently, but you still want your players to keep up that match sharpness, match fitness, and Doige has been scoring goals that we don't usually see from him in the last couple of games. So maybe we thought, chuck him on, he might get another half chance, get another goal, which will then keep his confidence going and, carry him on into the cup final on Saturday. So I can kind of see where Jack Ross might have, decided to throw them on just to keep the game time coming along for them.
I must say, Gav, when you and I spoke after the game yesterday, I wasn't critical of Newell, but I was saying I thought he had a very quiet game. However, when I kind of sat back and watched the highlights again, things like that, what he seemed to be doing, instead of doing his usual kind of breaking down and Spain passes, things like that, he was just moving into positions, stopping Celtic. They weren't getting the freedom to pass into channels, things like that. You're like, that's brilliant work, well done. It's almost the classic Stuart Lovell unseen work analysis that kind of always seems to come up. And it really did limit Celtic in the second half to try and long-range efforts because they weren't having any joy with us, which was fantastic. And also great to see McGuinness get the 90 minutes as well.
Yeah, aye. McGuinness getting 90 minutes, I think the first time was fantastic to see. Not had many starts due to various reasons. I think I know there's a couple of people a bit sceptical of him on yesterday's performance and on the season as a whole. I think that the lad has to get a clean slate after a pre-season and gets judged from next season, personally. Stuart, I mean, I know he didn't play on Wednesday night. He was on the bench on Wednesday night. Joe Newell playing the 90 minutes. Is he one you were surprised? I mean, as far as I can see, I can see no reason why he isn't starting the cup final. Are you surprised he played the full 90 minutes?
I kind of was, but I think it was really just kind of getting him back in, getting the the legwork into him for us there. My kind of real fear for him was getting one of those injuries. How many times did we hear this season? Oh, Joe Newell, whatever his name is barely a week away. We'll see him back next week. All of a sudden, we didn't see him for 6 weeks. He was a big miss semi-final against St Johnstone at Hampden. So delighted to see him get through the 90 minutes. Yeah, for me, he's one of the first names in the team sheet.
Yeah, I firmly agree with that. But yeah, so and let's have a chat about the main talking point I've seen a lot of people already talk about online. I'm sure we put up a poll which got a bit of interaction on Twitter. I've been on .net. It's been talked about. So quite rightfully so. Darren McGregor picked up the Man of the Match award yesterday. Another tremendous performance from McGregor yesterday, Stuart.
Yeah, absolutely tremendous. Before I go on to obviously have my man crush moment with Darren McGregor that I seem to have every other week, because let's be honest, I love Darren McGregor, you love Darren McGregor, you both love Darren McGregor, my mum loves Darren McGregor, everyone loves Darren McGregor.
Apart from Dave's misses, apparently.
Sorry?
Apart from Dave's misses, apparently.
I think, Dave's missus likes Dave, so there's clearly something wrong there.
Yeah.
Let's be fair. I think she was just trying to make Dave feel a bit better. Everybody loves Darren McGregor. But how on earth did Elyounoussi get the BBC Man of the Match? Yeah, he got into some good position, things like that. How does a striker who doesn't score any goals get a Man of the Match versus the defender who kept him quiet all day? And Darren McGregor is just an absolute classic defender. Plays with a heart on the sleeve. We know he's a good Hibs lad. And I just wish we had a bit of a time machine. We could go back, get Darren McGregor so we can get another 5-6 years from him. He's the heart and soul of this team. He knows what the club's all about. He's able to kind of work with defenders. He's a brilliant ambassador. Yeah, man crush. Thank you.
Ali, he's obviously a tremendous performance yesterday, but anytime he's been called upon this season, I know after the speculation and stuff, January just coming back in, but anytime he's been called upon this season, Darren McGregor has been tremendous, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, I think the one thing you're going to get from Darren McGregor is reliability. I think he even scored against Dundee United up at Tannadice as well. So he's, like Stuart says, he's a classic defender. It's a cliche, but he's a defender who defends. He doesn't do anything fancy. He just does the simple things, but he does them so well that I think that's what's the difference between him and Porteous is that he's got that sort of experience, and he wins the ball, he moves it on, and there's nothing flashy, nothing fancy. But sometimes that's just what you need from your defenders, just to do the simple things.
Do you think that's a generational thing, though? Ryan Porteous grew up watching different defenders to what Darren McGregor did. So Porteous wants to be a bit more advanced, do a bit more things like that. But Darren McGregor is a classic. He just keeps doing the simple things.
Perhaps I think it's something that Porteous could add to his game. So it's good to have both of those things, because we saw it with Effie when he was with us that he'd carry the ball out, and while your heart would be in your mouth sometimes, it was still brilliant to watch. So as football fans, we want to be entertained, but there's other times where we just want our defenders to do the simple thing and win the ball, move it on.
Yeah, and I like to say somebody that doesn't do the simple as much that you sort of touched on there is Ryan Porteous. Stuart, we spoke about it briefly yesterday. Like I say, we were able to meet up yesterday after the game with the lockdown changes and stuff. It's his probably closest he's been to the most minutes he's played in a season after the two other seasons being hampered by injury, and the first one just sort of breaking through.
Yeah, Porteous has been, again, had a great season. Little bit of a blip in the middle of things like that. I think something that I always have to take a step back and remember with Porteous is that he is still 21. Just because he's been playing a long time for us, he's still young, he's still learning his trade. He's got two brilliant defenders beside him, at any one point being Hanlon, McGregor. He's also going to have Stevenson helping him, David Gray helping him as well. So we are going to still see the best of him. Whether he's still going to be at Hibs, there are going to be people swarming for him. But he's had a great season, and I'm going to come on to it. But what do we do for the cup final? It's absolutely crazy. I think Craig made a fantastic. Sorry if I could jump in again here, Ali. I'm cutting you off here, buddy. If Craig made a fantastic comment on the pod on Wednesday night about Hanlon, his guidance and directing Doig. You could just hear him, and I'm kind of wondering if a couple of the slightly sillier decisions that we've seen from Porteous this year has come from direction being more delivered towards Doig and helping his game progress, and maybe not focusing on Porteous as much and helping him to kind of develop his game and his man management whilst we play.
Aye, I think there's maybe an element of that. I think, but at the same time, I think Porteous sort of said, didn't want to take the 5 jersey because he felt he wasn't ready for it yet, and I think he made a big statement taking it this year. I think maybe he felt he didn't need that guidance as much anymore. Obviously, I think like I said just a few weeks ago in the pod, there's been massive improvements in his temperament. Something that he was criticised a lot of, and he's taken on board and he's improved. There's an odd mistake in there. Obviously, the biggest one in recent memory was the St Johnstone game. But I think other than the little mistakes, I think is tremendous. There's slight positioning issues at times. I think there's been a few too many goals have came between him and McGinn, that a sort of gap there. But other than that, I think like he is only 21, and I think that we've seen the improvements so much this season. But yeah. And obviously the final sort of centre back, I guess in contention for the start would be Paul Hanlon. I mean, Ali's been our captain this season with David Gray not playing.
Yeah, I think Hanlon gets a lot of unfair criticism. I think at times, he's been at the club for over 10 years as well. But a lot of people point out the fact that he's not really stepped up. He's not moved on. But I feel like he's, like Craig said about him guiding Doig through a lot of games this season, he's that person you kind of need on the pitch. He's going to keep things secure. He's going to keep things right. He'll keep everyone on top of where they're meant to be. Porteous might not be getting as much guidance from him as he may have done previously, but I think Hanlon needs to start. I don't think you can drop Hanlon from the team for the cup final. He's been in the defence for pretty much the whole season, so I don't think it'd be very fair to leave him out.
I don't have the stats to hand, but I am sure he, stats-wise, is like top of the performance things in terms of centre-backs stats. I need to try and dig them out. But Stuart, I mean, is this been arguably Paul Hanlon's best season in a Hibs jersey?
Yeah, for me, it always comes back to I'm sorry to swear in the pod, the disastrous Terry Butcher half-season as well. We all sat here knowing if Paul Hanlon hadn't been injured, we would not have been relegated. Now, that the chain of events, the butterfly effect, butterfly flaps his wins, there's an earthquake in Tokyo and Hibs won the cup. Absolutely fantastic. But I think it's kind of led on to Paul Hanlon being this kind of almost as a bit of a scapegoat figure sometimes for Hibs fans. But the stats don't lie. He is one of the highest performing centre-backs in the league. We're very lucky to have him. Again, he is a Hibby through and through. There's a song there somewhere, I'm sure. And I can't see us not starting him for the cup final. He's what you want. He's often kind of criticised for not maybe having the steel of the classic defender, the Darren McGregor, but he does the simple things very well, very talented, and knows exactly what to do for the club.
Yeah, I mean, looking through the chat here, I can see you and Mackay saying Hanlon finished. I think that's an example of some of that criticism that comes in. But yeah, I think this is arguably his best season. I think stats stats aren't everything, but I think they back up a lot on what Hanlon does. And all like we spoke about this earlier, defences improved as the season has went on and performed really admirably. And Hanlon has been a massive part of that. And also, like Stuart said, a massive part, or Craig said the other day, a massive part in the success Doig's had this season. And I think not only like in terms of guiding him through a game, but got to remember Hanlon done that. A lot of people forget Doig is a centre back who is playing at left back, and that might be his position now because he's done so well at it. But Hanlon, when he first broke into the team, came in as a left back, and sort of went back to centre back as sort of more natural position. So he's been through that experience of playing out of position, getting used to it, bombing forward, coming up against right wingers, went to track back, went to go forward, and I think Hanlon has been a leader in so many ways this season, which is and I don't think that can be overlooked when it comes to hopefully leading us to a cup final and hopefully lifting the thing. But anyway, let's get back to let's get to the big question, the juicy question. Ali, I'll start with yourself. Who starts next week?
Oh, no pressure then. For me personally, I'd start Darren. I just think I think his experience and his composure and just his general his physicality as well, I think that would be better suited against St Johnstone for us on Saturday.
Stuart?
Yeah, I'm going to be extremely harsh on Ryan here, but I'm going to agree with Ali. Our back four is going to be McGinn, Handlin, McGregor, Doig. That's what I'm wanting to see from the boys on Saturday. We remember the semi-final. Yeah, we absolutely battered St Johnstone in the first half, missing a few chances that we really should have taken advantage of, but we were undone with high balls into the box. What's Darren McGregor going to do with them? Eat them up every day of the week. And we just need to make sure that with that, McGregor's going to come in, he's going to give us that bit of extra steel, and that's it. That's it for me.
I understand what you're saying there about. I think there's a really good point about the St Johnstone's threats. You know, they scored a couple of set pieces against us, scored another set piece again at Hampden. So, you know, in the final against Livingston, they know how to score set pieces. They're dangerous from set pieces. They've got quite a few big players and some good deliveries. But so I understand the thought behind McGregor, but I think Ryan's earned it. I think it would be so unfair on Ryan to be overlooked for the final. I think, you know, barring that sort of mistake, I think it's been his best season in a Hibs jersey by far. Obviously helped without injuries. I think he's improved so much, and him and Hanlon have developed that partnership, which we always spoke about McGregor and Hanlon having. I think Porteous and Hanlon have really defined that this season. It was kind of already hints of it there, but I think they've really brought that on this year, and that's why I would go with them. I mean, we're going to be doing a bigger match preview during the week, but I've got to see a question here from Paul Matthews, so I'll let you guys answer it later in the week. But sort of formation and starting lineup for the final, my starting lineup would be the team that played the semi-final, but Gogic for
Hallberg.
For Hallberg, yeah. I believe, you know, you get that benefit of McGinn either playing right back or right centre back if Boyle needs to come further back. And I wouldn't, you know, especially with the 5 subs still in place, I believe it's still in place for the Scottish Cup, I'd bring McGregor on to see out the game, because I firmly believe we're going to have a much better first half. We're going to be more clinical, and we'll get ahead. So in terms of seeing out the game, I'd bring McGregor on, and any sort of dangerous set pieces they've got trying to get themselves back into the game, McGregor can head away. But that's my 2 pence on it. Stuart?
No, I will agree with that there. I don't think I'm going to be disappointed which 2 of the 3 are selected to be our centre-backs in the final. Something I need to get out my psyche is, Porteous's mistake. Porteous's mistake, it was against St Johnstone. Who cares? If it was against Hamilton, if it was against Motherwell, if it was against Livy, we wouldn't be talking about it. It's just because against our opponents in the final. I reckon we'd have kind of forgotten about it, or would have just said, oh yeah, you'll shake it off and things like that. Ryan's mentally stronger than that. He's a lot mentally stronger than us supporters, thank God. That's probably why he's there and we're not. But no, I don't think I'll be disappointed either way. And I do 100% agree with you around Ryan earning his starting place in the final.
Yeah.
I think the point you make about obviously the mistake being against St Johnstone, he's probably going to have that. He might have that in his head as well, which will make him think, don't do anything stupid, just keep it simple. And so, you know, that might actually help in the fact that it did come against the same opposition, that he's not going to, he's hopefully going to have learnt from that mistake and not do the same thing again.
Aye.
Yeah.
A couple of comments here on this sort of topic. We've got William McCone saying McGregor should start an outstanding performance yesterday. If McGregor started more games, we'd have even more points. So, I mean, I can understand maybe 2 more points because I don't think he would have done what Porteous done against St Johnstone. But other than that, I think that's a bit hard to say. I think again a bit harsh on Porteous or Hanlon if you feel, because obviously the 2 of them played really well together. Porteous and McGregor played really well together yesterday. And somebody saying here about has Paul McGinn played every game the league game this season. Yes, I might be wrong on this, but I believe he's actually before yesterday's game played every minute of a league game minute before yesterday's game. So I mean, there was
I believe you're right, Gav.
Yeah. So that was the first game he had. The first game he missed out on minutes, but so there was the argument of do we potentially play all three, but then you have to then move McGinn to right wing back, which I don't think is suited to. And then how do you fit Boyle into the team? Do you put Boyle up top, but then do you drop Nisbet or Doige? It just becomes a bit of a headache, Ali, in terms of if you try to fit all three in, doesn't it?
I think it's a good and bad thing. It gives us options around the pitch. But I think McGinn playing as this sort of right centre back, right back, so that the formation is quite fluid. That has worked really well for us all season. We saw it in the game against Motherwell where the players were more focused on Boyle, which gave McGinn space, so he played in the cross for Doige to get the first goal. So McGinn's able to sit back and help out in defence, but he also gives us that option going forward. So I think, Boyle could maybe play in behind the strikers if we were doing that, but then that means you drop one of Newell, Gogic, Irvin, and they all bring something different to the team. So it's a tough decision that Jack Ross is going to have to make, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see a similar team to the one that was in the semi-final with Gogic replacing Hallberg.
I think we have to remember as well, McGinn's already got a double against St Johnstone this year in the 2-0 game.
Yeah.
He might be thinking, yeah, come on, I'm well up for this one. This is where I score my goals.
Yeah, I think McGinn has been tremendous this season and has to start as well. So yeah, obviously kind of partly comes into that conversation. But let us know at HFC Talk who you would start at centre back in the final. And for those in the live chat just now, we're about to go into our sort of final topic. So get some questions in. I'll try and pick out the questions that are already there that we've not yet answered. But if you could do me a favour, when you're doing a question, do 2 question marks. It means that it's easier for me to find. I can see just look for the double question marks. So put 2 question marks and we'll read it. We'll go through all your questions to kind of finish up today. Those in the live chat. But yeah, so let's get on to our second topic today. And of course, Rocky, his last game yesterday, we've kind of already touched on it. But yeah, Stuart, what's your first things? What do you think of when you first think of Rocky?
It kind of amazes me how time's flown of this guy being with us for 5 years. He's been very, very dependable. Yes, we had that section when we had him and Bogdan at the club, who I thought the two of them were a little bit interchangeable. But Rocky has been a very reliable, very dependent keeper. And I think he's been a great ambassador for the club as well. Him and his family have come over here, absolutely fell in love with Edinburgh. They've embraced the city, embraced the fans. It is a real shame to see Rocky going. 1 or 2 criticisms for me: he hasn't maybe been as vocal a keeper as I quite like to have, and he's kicking, but you know what, he could easily go down to a championship club in England and do very, very well for himself. We have been lucky. I think it was Neil Lennon's and him shared an agent, which is how we got Rocky to the club, and we can thank Lennon for that. I think we've been very fortunate in having someone there, because we've not had the best history with keepers. Let's be fair here. So having someone like him come in and cement, I am your number one, it's been fantastic.
Just quickly to say, I can see that Matty Reid is sharing our links to Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Just a massive thanks to him. Matty, tell you what, stick your own Twitch in there as well, because Matty does a lot of streaming, so make sure you check out Matty's streams as well. So Matty, get your links in there for yourself in as well. So do some self-publishing, one of the moderators, so thank you so much for that, Reedy. But yeah, Ali, would you say Rocky goes down as maybe the best keeper of this century, since the year 2000?
I think you'd be hard pushed to find a better one. Daniel Anderson I thought was really good, but he wasn't with us for long enough. Logan's got cult hero status, but I don't think he was, technically a great goalkeeper overall. But he won us the cup by getting us through to the final in that performance against Dundee United. But Rocky's consistency over the last 5 years has been really quite incredible. He's made some top class saves. I think sometimes he makes the saves look over dramatic. He can maybe, a few of them he could maybe catch the ball, but he goes for the spectacular. But it looks great. It looks great. It still keeps out the net at the end of the day. So, Rocky's definitely, he'd probably be my number one goalie over the last decade. Well, this century.
I was speaking to my dad about Rocky earlier on today, and he said the exact same thing. He says, tremendous keeper, but goes for the camera save once too often. Just sort of, and I mean, Stuart, you touched on it. I think the way him and Shelley have just sort of bought into Edinburgh, bought into the club, bought into they've just sort of embraced the fans. They've been brilliant. So I mean, a massive credit to them for that. And obviously, race their boy son, or Sonny, I think that's obviously the nickname. They race him here, and he's sort of been a big part of the city as well. So yeah, I mean, the way they've just, I mean, I always remember that feature that was on The Match a few months ago. Obviously when we were still unsure, but they were talking about falling in love with the city, falling in love with the club. Initially being a loan spell, and how pleased he was it became more than that, and how it's just sort of how they'll be Hibees for life, regardless of what happens. But I mean, I was talking about Hibs TV, Stuart. I mean, I've not seen Hibs TV, but from the match yesterday, but I believe there was quite a bit about talking about Scott Brown, but not that much about Ophir Marciano.
They certainly covered Rocky's departure at the start of the game. I think if Scott Brown hadn't had his obviously initial link with Hibs, then we would hardly have spoke about it. One of us yesterday made the fantastic point. If that was Scott Brown hanging up his boots for the very last time yesterday with his league, we have to remember he's a League Cup winner with Hibs as well. It probably doesn't quite dwarf his trophy cabinet as well as because of the success he's had at Celtic. But it's entirely probable we'll see him at Easter Road or Pittodrie next season. So it was a bit peculiar, us presenting something to him. I don't know if we've presented something to Rocky for 5 years of great service as well. I hope we have. But kind of going back, even kind of seeing Rocky's wife Shelley posting on social media, she's always been very active about talking about our love of the club, our pride in seeing her husband. There was a fantastic interview Rocky did, and he was talking about his son running around the house singing the Magic song for it. Now, I think that was kind of winding Rocky up, because obviously it's a dad. If the kids been running around for 4 hours high on Coca-Cola and Blue Smarties singing that. But again, he said, I brought a real smile to my face. And again, that's something magical. We're not the only supporters to do that, but have seemed to be able to always embrace a player. And more often than not, somebody leaves our club saying, "Oh yeah, we're Hibees for life. We always look fondly for Hibs. We look out for the results, things like that." And it kind of shows what a great culture we've now got at the club, which is brilliant.
Yeah, and one of the things that they also spoke about, they said about loving Edinburgh, Ali, but they also spoke about missing home, and especially I can imagine the last year that's been really, really tough. All the travel restrictions and sort of lockdown and stuff. It may be a bit easier for Shelley. She's able to fly home, 3-4 times a year, but not being able to do that, it's probably been a tough year for them. I believe they were, obviously with everything going on, there was a bit of a delay with it and had to fly back to Germany to then go again. But I believe she's now, her and Sonny are now safely in Israel, and Rocky's planning to go out and join them at least for the short term before I don't know what his future is. But yeah, it must have been really tough for them being away from home, especially the last year.
Yeah, I think that'll play a huge factor in a lot of things for them, especially Rocky. With it being his last year, that's probably been playing on his mind. Obviously, we still don't know where he's going, but if he does end up signing for a club back in Israel, then it could be argued that he's done that because he wants to be closer to the rest of his family. Like I said, they've not had a chance to really get back much in the last year. Rocky's maybe been in a bit more of a fortunate situation in that obviously for internationals he's been going back, so he might have been able to catch up with them a little bit when he's flown home for that. But especially for Shelley and Son, it's going to be tough for a lot of them not to see everyone else. So yeah, it's probably been a factor that's played a part in his decision at the end of the day.
So I asked you to do your homework before we kind of came on. Stuart, what was your...
Right, 5 minutes before you asked us to come on yesterday to do our homework.
20 minutes, actually. It was at 22. I thought, that's not too bad. Gives them plenty of time. Stuart, your favourite moment or save, or what's your sort of favourite Rocky moment?
Yeah, I'd love to pinch Ali's one, but he said it first. So damn you, Ali. This is why you don't get on the pod very often. No, I'm actually going to cheat a little bit and go even just this season in the 2-2 game with Rangers. He pulled off an absolutely spectacular double save at close range. Rangers flying high in the league, looking to kind of put us to the sword, because I think from memory that would have made it 3-1 to Rangers at the time, and it was just absolutely magical. I was watching it in my local pub down south with a Rangers fan, and even he kind of was saying that is a stunning save. He wasn't talking about kind of how Rangers missed it. It was more, just absolute full credit to the keeper there. And again, he's always been very agile, brilliant stop shopper. That's like shot stopper even, and that's what we're going to miss for Rocky.
Ali, your favourite moments?
My favourite save, I think, was the one against Dundee at Easter Road. I think most people might remember the save because it was quite spectacular. I can't remember who it was that took the shot, but it was from quite close range, and it looked more than certain that it was going to be nestling in the back of the net, and I think it would have made it 2-1 at the time. And Rocky somehow managed to get down and just turn it round the post, and it was one of those saves that you came to expect from Rocky, is that it was just so spectacular and so out of the blue, but it was something that he was able to do and do quite often for us.
It was just point blank range. You wouldn't have blamed him if it had gone in.
Yeah.
But he just got a Jedi-esque reactions from him.
Aye. And there's been so many of them, you guys have picked out 2 there or 3 because it was a double save against Rangers, but there's been so many saves where he's just it's just tremendous. I think there's times where we've went, how's he at Hibs, but at the same time we had such bad luck with goalkeepers. I think we were overdue off your Marciano, but yeah. And I guess the final thing would be, because like I say, I was fortunate enough to be at the game, and he's coming in, and I'm in the press. I think I was the only one doing it. I started clapping when he came off the pitch. I got a couple of looks.
That could have come across really sarcastic. One guy, yeah, well done, mate.
But yeah,
well done, Gav. You're massive.
It's such a shame that his last game is not in front of fans. Obviously, depending on where he ends up next and when next available, he's one that surely has to come along, do I don't know, a happy half-time draw and kind of say a few words and get a big round of applause for the support, doesn't he?
Again, I think it's the language that the family have always put out there, that they fell in love with Edinburgh, and I think it's always had to be a big selling point for Hibs and Hearts. Yeah, you might be able to get more money in the Championship, but do you want to go and live in Bradford? Do you want to go and live in Hull? Do you want to live in one of these places? Whereas you can come and live in Edinburgh. Yeah, I reckon that the Marcianos will be back to kind of see us all again, and Rocky will be welcome at open arms in Easter Road.
Aye, Ali, we'll definitely see him back once crowds are back, won't we?
Yeah, I think all fans would like to see Rocky back. I don't think anyone would wish him ill for leaving. Would be a really nice touch, and we can all sing the song for him again.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely deserving to hear that song one more time.
Teach the next child the song so they can continue annoying Shelley and him. Yeah, absolutely.
Just one on that, I think one of my favourite moments I meant to say was when we won the championship. Remember, it was a really sunny day, and all the Hibs fans are singing "Sunshine and Leith" and stuff, and all the players are going around with their families. The lap on are unfortunately something they won't be able to do this season. And little son was sort of running about, and obviously Shelley there, and like I say, it was really nice to see the three of them just sort of embracing the fans. You could tell it meant a lot. And also I think when we beat Hearts, Sunshine and Leith, you could tell him enjoying it and stuff. And it was like, he's really bought into this club. So yeah, massive, fantastic memories of Rocky. We'll go down as an all-time great. I think somebody here, Hibs 91 said best, Hibs 1991, which might give you a sort of hint of their lifetime. They said best keeper in my lifetime. So yeah. But yeah, so let's have a look at some of the questions we've got from you guys today. But I obviously find just to say a massive thanks to Rocky for being such a tremendous keeper. So the first question we've got here is in regards to the player of the year. Obviously, Rangers going to an unbeaten season, but no nomination for Jack Ross's questions from Luke. Stuart, your thoughts on Jack Ross not even being nominated for Manager of the Year?
It's a peculiar one, isn't it? I think the other nominees were obviously Steven Gerrard. We also had Stevie Clark, Callum Davison over at our final opponents, and then Martindale as well. I thought the Martindale one was very odd. Yes, he came in and definitely had a good roller coaster. Kind of was about 14 games or something like that, but they've fallen well away from it. Probably be amazed if he could have lasted till Christmas next year over at Livingston if kind of that trend continues. I'd have loved Stevie Clark to get it for Scotland getting to a major tournament. Begrudgingly kind of say, yeah, okay, Gerard, well done on there. Maybe if we'd been triumphant in either semi-final that we played previous to the Dundee United one, we could have seen Jack Ross's name in there. But us fans have been far too fickle towards Jack Ross this season. So are we surprised that the nominations have been a bit uncruel to him as well?
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's I understand Martindale has done well, but at the same time, I think he went like 11 games or 12 games unbeaten. I think 11 wins in that or something. But I was speaking to Livy fan today. They've won 1 game in 12 since then. Like, he had a good start, and he was only there for half a season. I don't know how and they've obviously finished 6th, which, you know, they didn't know when the nominations came out, but we're kind of heading that way. And Jack Ross got 2 semi-finals in 1 year, although one was from last year. Scottish Cup final and third in the league. I don't get it. Ali, your kind of brief thoughts on Jack Ross missing out on the nomination?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it when when the Hibs Talk tweeted it, in that, you know, Martindale, yeah, he got off to a great start, but he kind of went the same way as Hecky at Hibs. Like, it was this brilliant start. Everyone was loving it, and then the results stopped coming. And for Jack Ross not to be involved for, you know, getting us to third place for the first time since 2006, I think it was. So last when Scott Brown was last at the club. I think that it's a bit of a strange decision not to have had him at least in the running. Callum Davidson, I can understand. You know, St Johnstone, they started off slowly. They've won a trophy already. They're in another cup final. It makes a lot of sense. But yeah, for Ross not to have even made the shortlist, it was, I think it was a bit of a strange decision from the powers that be.
Yeah, but I mean, he didn't seem too bothered, but he seemed really. I remember I'm talking at the same time about Doig being nominated for Young Player of the Year and very adamant that he should get it. And obviously did, so massive. I'm sure we did at the time, but another congratulations to Josh Doig on that. Very, very deserving. John McIntosh is asking, who would you give Player of the Year to as well as Goal of the Year? So, I mean, it's a tough one to think of. We can think of the goals, but Stuart, what's your kind of thoughts on Player of the Year?
Player of the Year, that's a really tough one. You could almost have a nominee for every section of the park. Rocky again has had a really solid season in goal. You could easily say Doig or Hanlon for our defender. Boyle contributing fantastically. Okay, again, a couple of little blips and things like that throughout the season. Christian Doig has been great as well. I'm sorry, I'm dancing around and not even giving you an answer here. I'm going to go Christian Doig for me, Player of the Year, and we'll give Young Player of the Year to Josh Doig.
Ali?
I think it's hard to argue with Doig for Young Player of the Year, but for me, I think Boyle would be my Player of the Year. Obviously, he got off to a bit of a slow start. He had that usual sign a new contract and then be absolutely crap for months. But I feel like he's really upped his game. He's got a lot of variety to it now. He's really developed as a player through his time at Hibs. And I think this season he's added more and more goals to it. He's taking set pieces now. He's taking penalties, albeit the set pieces aren't always great. But yeah, I think Boyle's been our sort of standout performer for the majority of this season.
I
What about
understand.
yourself, Gav?
I understand sort of the calls for all the players you have said. I mean, I'm really tempted to go for Christian Deutsch. Also, I have to kind of give a shout out to Gogic, who I think is a contender. Been a massive part of the team. We've missed him when he hasn't been there, apart from maybe the semi-final because Hallberg strolled it, as everyone sort of said. But yeah, I think Gogic, big shout out. But Joe Newell for me. Joe Newell has been player of the season. I think he's found his groove, he's found his best position, he's been so reliable, it's been a big part of what we do. So yeah, Joe Newell for me, player of the year by far. Maybe not by far, that's maybe but a bit of a cliche that I don't actually mean, just sort of naturally coming out there. But yeah, and in terms of the goal of the season, I'm going to go for Christian Deutsch's one against Aberdeen just last week. I mean, the fact that he hit it with one foot and hit it with the other, just amazing. Is there any other goals that you can think of off the top of your head? Maybe one would need a bit more time to go back and think about, but any other contenders?
Possibly even. Sorry, Ali, on you.
Deutsch's goal in the semi-final was another really good one. Sorry, Stuart. In fact, any of the goals Deutsch scored in the cup, any of the goals Deutsch has scored in the cup, because he scored a couple of really good ones in the early rounds as well. But off the top of my head, I can't. Other than the one against Aberdeen, I don't think there's many others that come close to that.
Yeah, I know it's something that I'm sure we'll put a few polls out and stuff. But for goal of the year and player of the year, so let us know who you would have in the live chat, but also at HFC Talk. Next question here is from Andrew Brenson. Obviously, we're talking about being short of strikers, and obviously there might be strikers on the way out. We'll get the question right here. Is Griffiths an option for you guys?
Yes.
Sure.
He's always an option. I'm talking about him in the same way if he wasn't one of our own. Difficult to know. But I think he seemed to be almost kind of playing down the clock a bit against Celtic. Against us for Celtic yesterday. Wages are going to be a stumbling block unless he's going to come and say, I've earned my money, I want to come back to my boyhood team and finish off there. I think we would see a different Lee Griffiths. Shame we couldn't get him in January. I think he was potentially going to miss out on the Scotland squad for the Euros just due to lack of game time. But a fit Lee Griffiths is the best striker in the country for me. And if we've got the opportunity to sign him, that it would be foolish not to.
Ali?
I don't think you can turn down a striker like Lee Griffiths. Like the quality he has, we've seen it firsthand when he played for us. He almost single-handedly kept us up a couple of times, and you saw, the season after he'd gone, we ended up going down. So I think if we have a chance to sign Lee Griffiths, we need to do anything that we can, I think, to get him into the club.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's not even, for me, it's not even a gamble. It's not a punt. We know what Lee Griffiths can do. We've seen it all before. He's still got that quality. Even when he has been out, he can still come on, look sharp, look alive, where I think it's a fair argument to say he's never really tried that hard against us.
Yeah, I remember the only time he did score, he really didn't look like he enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, that's it. But he came on against Aberdeen to kind of get the draw for Celtic in the top 6 games. I think I almost celebrated that goal as loudly as I did any Hibs goal this season as well for it. But no, the lad knows where the goals are. He is one of us. If we can do it, get him in.
Yeah.
No brainer. Maybe even bring in a younger striker in the mould of kind of Nisbet as well. So we're not putting all our eggs into one basket for there.
Liam McLennan has jumped into the chat. Liam, who's been on the pod quite a lot, says, hello Ali, how are you? I've been kicked off the podcast. No, you've not. You're moving tomorrow. I've been shunned. No, you're not. You're moving tomorrow. Also, best of luck with your move. And he said Joshua Doig for player of the year. And yeah, he's went. And also Nisbet free kick against Spartans for the goal of the season. And then he's went on a few more. So yeah, hi Liam, how are you? We've got a question here from Reedy saying, does Malin have a future next season? Stuart?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? As we were speaking about yesterday, Jack Ross knows Stevie Malin better than any of us. He's the forgotten man. We've shifted him off to Turkey. He started well, then he got COVID. I don't know what he's been doing up to that, but I don't think there's been any point since we've shipped him out that I've said, we could have done with Stevie Malin today. And is that damning in itself? He was almost a bit of a marquee signing when we got him. Tough to say he hasn't really fulfilled that, but he's not been able to build on the momentum of being Player of the Year in his first season, and he's kind of lost a bit of spark. I don't think I'd be too worried if we didn't see him back next year, I'm afraid.
I think the good thing with Malin is that he'd offer us a bit more strength and depth. I know, like we were talking about it, you saying yesterday, the fact that we're able to swap the team around quite a lot and rest a lot of the players that probably will play next week shows that we do have a bit of depth there, but not everyone has the same quality that Malin can maybe offer the side. He might not do a lot of this stuff off the ball, but get him on the ball within 30 yards of the goal, and you know that he's going to have a pop at it, and there's a chance that it's gonna fly in.
I'd love to be proven wrong from Stevie Malin, but I've never seen enough of him in a Hibs jersey to especially the way this midfield has been playing this year. He's been tried in a few different roles, a deeper role, a further up role, even out wide at times, and it's never really worked. I don't think we can be that patient. I think we need to be a bit more ruthless. If he comes back and proves me wrong, brilliant, but I don't see him coming back personally. And speaking of midfielders that rhyme with Malin, question from Douglas Russell: does Scott Allen start if he's fit next year? Stuart, do you see him back in? And I mean, he also does sort of mention. Sorry, I'll let you go in, and I'll come back to this bit.
For me, Scott Allen, welcome back. It's great to see him getting so much game time at Inverness. He's an absolute Rolls Royce of a player. When everything's fitting well, he has had a horrific year, but he's stayed positive. He's kept himself as fit as he can. He knew what he had to do to be able to contribute to the team in the future, and that was going out to Inverness. Whether that's had a hand in us getting the laddie in from their Mackie, who knows? But no, for me, a fit Scott Allen is our first choice pick in 10 of the top flight teams in Scotland. So yeah, absolutely keep him. Welcome back, Scotty.
Ali?
I think Scott Allen falls into the Griffiths mould a wee bit in that he offers such quality that we'd be foolish to let him go and not have him involved. He might find it difficult to break into this team because we've got quite a good setup at the moment, but I think it might come down to what happens with Irvin. So do we keep him? Does he stay on for another season? Then we've got a bit of a battle going on for those places. But there's definitely place in this team for Scott Allen, and I think he would give us something a bit different going forward.
Well, you have to remember, we've got to have a bigger squad next season because European football, lads. That's what we've got to be looking forward to. I don't want to fall into the category of having one of these teams where, we have a great European night and then we have to go away to St Mirren where we get battered 2-0 on the Sunday because they're all knackered. We've seen kind of far too many examples of that from other teams trying to do it on both fronts. So having someone like Irvin, Allen that are a little bit interchangeable isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, Ali, you can answer the next part of the question there because Douglas Russell also asked, talking about Player of the Year, had said Irvin if he'd had a full season, but Boyle for me. So I was going to say, does it Scott Allen's sort of place in the team depend on Jackson Irvin, which you kind of touched on there. So I think it's an interesting one to see in terms of I firmly believe Scott Allen, like I say, will play next season. I think we'll see the best of Scott Allen now that all these things are behind him. So yeah. And also, like say, Hibs91 asking the same question: does Scott Allen have a future Hibs? I've just answered that one, but thank you for your question. Alfie Montgomery asking most underrated Hibs player
this season or ever?
I think he means this season or in the current squad. He doesn't say, but that's what I'm gonna say.
Fair enough. You know what I'm going to say, again. He gives us a absolutely solid performance every week. I can't think he even kind of put too much on, and he doesn't get his head going down. Even against Aberdeen, Flo gave him a little bit of a torrid time at the start, but you didn't think he's in for a night here. He just was able to step up, and he's just been very, very dependable. Maybe not the most glamorous signing we're ever going to make, but he's been fantastic, and almost a bit of a shame that none of us could have mentioned him for Player of the Year because he's just not got that glamour. For us.
Ali?
I let Stuart go first that time, so I didn't steal his answer again, because I was going to say Paul McGinn as well. I think he gets a bit of a hard time, sometimes a little bit unfairly, but he's been a solid performer. Up until yesterday, he'd played 90 minutes of every match in the league. He's played, I think, in every cup game as well so far. So he's another player who's very dependable. Other than McGinn, I'd say maybe Gogic. When he's been out of the team on occasion, we have missed him. Like you said, Gav, he brings something different. I think against Motherwell, up until his sending off, he was absolutely excellent. He was breaking up play. He was doing everything that we signed him to do. And, we've been screaming out for a player like him for years, saying we need someone to just fill in that hole, just be there to break up play. And I think that he's done that role quite well so far this season.
Yeah, the one I'd go for, like I said, I kind of touched on it earlier, on Paul Hanlon for me. I think he gets unfair criticism. I think he's tremendous. I think he's maybe had his best season. Other than saying that he was pretty good the season under Lennon, and he really suited playing the left of that back three. But I think this has probably been his best season. He's such an integral part to the team on the pitch, but also the sort of mental side of it, off it as well. I think we're really lucky to have McGregor, Gray, and Hanlon, three big leaders behind the scenes, and I think they've been a big driving force in terms of where the club is at the moment. So yeah, but Paul Hanlon for me.
I feel it's a bit of a shame we didn't actually touch on Sir David playing against Celtic. The match fitness wasn't quite there, but by God, his heart was. He was still running as up to the point he was subbed off. And having someone like that who can just kind of come in, steady a ship or fill a role is invaluable. Fantastic.
A few silly questions here from Liam, because I don't think he knows how to ask serious questions. So we'll go with this one first. Who would win in a fight, Gav Wilson or Gav Skeleton? I've never been in a fight in my life. I came close to being in a fight in my life and I ran away. So definitely Gav and Skeleton. Who would win in a fight, Stuart Wilson or Stuart McCall?
Stuart McCall's quite broad, actually. I met him at something. It's probably be Stuart McCall. I was going to try and pick myself up there, but no chance. He's still got those lovely ginger flowing locks, so fair play to him.
Yeah, he's got kind of got like a boxer look about him as well. Like it looks like he's got a broken nose from his maybe being in a fight before. If he's not got a broken nose, I'm really sorry. I was probably from football more likely, but I'm sorry, Stuart McCall, to talk about your nose so much. And Ali, who would win the fight, Ali Turnbull or Ali McCoist?
I think I'd be too nimble for Ali McCoist. He's a bit bigger. He's not as fast as he used to be. So I think I could take Ali McCoist.
Aye,
I'd agree with that. Aye.
He'd probably just sort of run around in circles and he'd get out of breath, and then you could just pick him off.
Aye. Tire him out.
A couple of questions here from John saying, have you seen the Liverpool goal? I haven't seen it myself. The winner, Alisson's goal. Have either of you seen it?
Yeah, I saw it.
Oh, please describe it, Ali. I've not seen it.
No, it was just ball played in. He's got up for the header and nodded it home. Unlike Xander Clark, this was definitely his goal.
There we go.
He's also said, unpopular opinion, I'd keep Dre Wright. Thoughts on Dre Wright for next season? I mean, sure. I mean, he did show moments yesterday.
He did, yeah. I would definitely keep him. I'd certainly give him up to the January window. Jack Ross has brought him in times the latter half of the season where we've maybe, as us as supporters, have been calling upon other people to come in. So the guy's clearly putting across the right attitude, things like that in training, which we obviously don't get to see. But no, I think he can still be a contributing member of the squad. And I think that he's one of a few players who are going to get in a clean slate, and kind of get them in front of an Easter Road crowd as well. No, I would definitely keep him.
Yeah. Same. I think he's been a good squad player. I think we're yet to see the best of him. Same time, I did just sort of say about Malin, but I think Malin was over a couple of seasons. If he doesn't improve, if he has a similar season next season, then we've got to cut our losses. We can't be sentimental and just keep him around because he's a nice guy. We've got to be a bit brutal at times. And we'll start to kind of wrap up the questions now, because I am starving and want my dinner. But Luke said here, who's going down?
Well, we've obviously had Hamilton go down today, which we're all gutted at. Is it a little bit of karma from 5 years ago? I think we deserve to go down. Unpopular opinion, but for seasons before that, we were just kind of the best of the worst. And eventually, when everybody else was picked off, it was us that were left there. It allowed us to kind of come back and rebuild the club, but a lot of hatred has been pointed towards Hamilton because they were the ones that put the knife into us there. Definitely will not miss them bringing 67 fans to a 3 o'clock Saturday kickoff Easter Road. Definitely will not miss that bloody plastic pitch of theirs. Will we see them bounce back up? Can't really see it myself. And then we're looking at the playoff final being Dundee versus Kilmarnock. We get the opportunity to lose another plastic pitch from the top flight. For those listening to the pod, Gavin's just done the fingers crossed there. But I've got a couple of good buddies who are Killie fans who will absolutely murder us. They do listen to the pod, bless them. So even though I'd like to see a Dundee Derby back in the top flight, they were great to watch when they were both in the Championship, especially when they got the playoffs games as well. So that would be great for the city and another good advert for Scottish football. So I'm going to say Dundee to come up, I'm afraid. Sorry, Stuart. Sorry, Alex.
Ali, so who's going down? Kilmarnock or Dundee staying down?
I think Dundee are on the up. Obviously, Kelly had a few good results, and Lafferty's come in and started banging in the goals. Tommy Wright's got them, playing some sort of football. But I think Dundee it'll probably be quite tight. I think there'll probably be goals in both games, but Dundee will be the victors in the end, and we won't be the only team to succumb to going down through the playoffs. So Kelly will go down.
And really put a point out that it'd be funny to see Kyle Lafferty go down. Completely agree. He's a dick. Final question here is from Reese Young saying, what centre backs pairings would you like to see in the final? Well, we had done a whole topic towards that, Reese, but don't worry. If you've just tuned in, you can head back and find the podcast. It'll be uploaded later on. It'll be on Spotify, iTunes, or Apple Music, whatever it's called. It's on Amazon Music now. Done that a few weeks ago. And you can find it on YouTube as well. And also this Twitch will stay up for the next 2 weeks. And you can also find this video on YouTube. So you can get loads of places. So you can either go back and watch the video, or you can listen to the podcast wherever you get your podcast. We're there. And you can watch out for that coming out at HSC Talk. Boom, I've got my plugs in early. Guys, what's your plans for the night? Sure.
I'm probably just going to...
Oh, Ali, on you go.
Probably just going to have a chilled night with a girlfriend, maybe watch a movie or something, wind down for the evening.
Any good movies in mind, or we're still waiting to see?
We're still waiting to see. We've got a whole list of movies that we're trying to work our way through, but we keep choosing new movies to watch, so the list just keeps growing. But we'll see what takes our fancy.
Sure.
Yeah, nice quiet one. Just probably watch a little bit of telly and get to my bed early. I've got one final question for you boys. Actually, if you don't mind me, Gav, obviously the host power went to my head on midweek when I asked questions. Are the nerves kicking in yet?
No, I'm really confident. Like, I've been confident since I remember. I'm going to find the audio because I'm going to put a little thing together. But I remember saying we're winning the Scottish Cup, aren't we? And because Celtic and Rangers have been drawn against each other, and we mapped out our road to the semi-final, thinking Motherwell will be a tough game, but that's how it's kind of looking. But I'm very confident. Ask me again on the podcast later in the week, because we're going to do a phone in this week, and we're going to do a match preview and quiz podcast. So, but at the moment, really confident, really looking forward to a party at Leith Links. Social distance, of course, and tidying up after ourselves. Come on, let's not get a bad name like Rangers. Really saying party at Gav's. I'm afraid not, because you're only allowed 6 people from 3 households. So no, not at my house. But yeah, you guys getting nervous?
I'm nervously excited. Anytime a big game comes round, there's always a wee bit of nerves, but I'm slightly confident going into Saturday. Like you, Gav, ask me again later on in the week. That confidence might have either grown or completely gone. So just need to see how I feel come Saturday morning.
Aye, Stuart, you how you feeling?
I'm nervous adjacent. I'm not quite fully into nervous yet. The sat nav's saying that I'm relatively close, but I'm kind of getting there. I'm just really glad I've got a busy week in the diary. That'll keep me distracted, so I can kind of get my week over with, wrap up on sharpish on the Friday, and just kind of focus on the high bees, as it should be in life. Let's be honest.
Aye. I'd like to say we've got a lot of content coming this week, which is going to keep me distracted. We'll finalise the details for when the phone-in's going to be. I think that's looking like Wednesday, but let me double check. That might not be live. We might record some of that Tuesday and put out Tuesday night, but I'll let you know one way or another. That's still been finalised, and I'm currently working the Friday evening, but I think it'd be much better to do the quiz and things like that the night before. So I'm trying to get my shift covered. I'll see how I get on. If not, that'll be the Thursday night. Or the Saturday morning, one of the two. But Saturday morning, now I start drinking. Let's be honest. So
make sure you don't swap your shift for Saturday 2 o'clock, Gav.
no, it would be getting covered and probably using annual leave up, but it's worth it for cup final week. But yeah, so like I say, we've got a lot of stuff coming this week, one way or another. So make sure you keep an eye on the socials for when those things are coming out. I'll get a schedule put up for it, and we'll get this up as a podcast. If you listen to the podcast, thank you for making it to the end. I'm rambling. Ali, enjoy your movie. Stuart, enjoy the rest of your night. I'm waiting to enjoy pizza. I've done all the stuff earlier on, but yeah, thanks again, guys. Cheers.